The Spider-Verse would band together to protect the Chosen One, Earth 616, Peter Parker. In this story, Peter is working for Norman Osborn and fights crime in a suit Norman helped make. He casually beats some thugs while the new Madam Web signals the 616 spider heroes to protect him. His spider sense goes off as a flurry of spider-hunting wasps rush through a portal. We then see the inheritor Morlun appear behind him. Peter begins fighting for his life, doing what he can to buy himself some time, but he realizes the spider-eating inheritor is unfazed. Morlun then retaliates, slamming Peter on the pavement and throwing him into a car. His helmet then gets smashed in when Miles Morales and Cindy Moon show up to help him alongside Spider-Woman. The spiders beat on Morlun when Spider-Man Noir shows up, but Peter feels something's off. He sees Noir pull out a blade and pushes it through Spider-Woman, except there's no blood. Noir says she's been severed from the web of life and destiny as she begins to unravel from existence. Morlun says he's there to help as Noir unleashes bug-like spider variants. Peter Parker would be told he's the chosen one of all the spider variants in End of the Spider-Verse. This story starts with a variant of the MCU Spider-Man investigating a broken-into facility where he's ambushed by spider variants turned wasp-like creatures. Meanwhile, the Earth 616 spiders have to fend off Spider-Gwen, Spider-Girl, and Spider-Punk. They're saved by a magic-wielding spider named Aranya, where we learn apparently spider magic came before the mystic arts that Doctor Strange uses. Our heroes end up in an unfinished version of Earth 616. Miles and Silk mention they're starting to forget Spider-Woman, who is severed from existence by evil Noir. Then we meet more spider people, most notably a Craven who's called the Hunter Spider. Spintress introduces everyone in song form, and Peter meets a different black cat called Night Spider, who steals his utility belt. The spiders gather to tell Peter he's the spider, at the center of the web of life and destiny this all started from. They begin to argue about plans when Miles suddenly turns, and he sees the army of spiders coming for them. Spider-Man would have to fight an infected army of spider variants in End of the Spider-Verse. In this story, Miles Morales gets infected, and Craven is about to kill him when Peter defends him. So Earth 616 spiders can't get infected if they're stung, but thanks to Secret Wars, Miles is technically from two realities. Miles can still think for himself though, and has the idea to hide among the infected spiders, and partners with Craven. Madam Web explains Shathra is corrupting the web of life and destiny, and sends Peter to find a device that can restore the web. They visit a temple where Felicia nearly gets them killed by traps, while the other set of spiders try finding the blade that Noir used on Spider-Woman. They find the infected spiders that are stuck in 616 when Spintress gets stung, and allows the spider wasp to escape, and Morlun sees that Noir doesn't have the blade. Peter's team find and retrieve the golden idol, but are ambushed by every spider that's been infected across the Spider-Verse. They fend off this never-ending army when the idol is destroyed. Peter is then stabbed by Spider-Gwen, and feels himself unravel from existence. So Peter Parker was stabbed by an infected Gwen Stacy with a blade that erased him from ever becoming Spider-Man. In this story, a mind-controlled cyborg Spider-Man and Spider-Rex are after this world's Norman Osborn, who's working with Spider-Man, and no, I didn't misspeak, to transport a fragment of the web of life and destiny. Cyborg Spider-Man burns Spider's man, but Norman is able to transport the fragment to another reality and sacrifices himself. Madam Web sees this war as being lost, with Peter no longer existing. Felicia and Anya are able to trap an army of spiders in the temple, while Miles and Craven sneak up on the spider wasp who's causing all this, Shathra. Miles hears that Peter is dead and attacks Shathra without thinking, and she holds him down, asking how he's not under her control. He ends up in a dungeon with other spiders that can't be turned. In 616, Spintress sings that Peter has been killed, and Silk knocks her out when Madam Web arrives with Peter's replacement, the first draft of Spider-Man, Peter Palmer. At Oscorp, we see a canister containing a web appear, as scientist Peter Parker examines it. So after Peter Parker was changed to never have gotten powers, the true chosen one would be revealed in End of the Spider-Verse. In this story, the web of life and destiny has been corrupted by Shathra and her spider variants, as she begins reshaping the entire multiverse into one hive. On Earth 616, the endgame has begun, but Felicia Hardy reveals she stole the totem dagger they can use on Shathra. They begin planning when Silk mentions that Peter Parker has always been her sidekick, and she's always been the main spider hero in Earth 616. They enter Shathra's hive disguised as infected spiders, when the prototype Spider-Man, Peter Palmer, rushes in. Morlun stabs her, but the dagger doesn't work. The second team then rescues Miles as he sets off with Peter Park's car to find other spiders through the multiverse. Meanwhile, the spiders are losing this fight, and Morlun desperately tries feeding on Silk for energy. She cuts him with the dagger and light glows from his wound. Anya realizes the dagger says Silk is the chosen one. She cuts Morlun again, and the life force of all the spiders he's eaten bursts out to restore the Spider-Verse. In the finale of End of the Spider-Verse, a huge huge Spider-Verse battle would break out to finish this saga. Silk has been deemed the actual chosen one and has freed all the spiders from the control of the Spider-Wasp goddess, Shathra. The whole Spider-Verse gets thrown into Earth 616, and Shathra appears as a giant. Silk commands everyone to attack, and we see them web rush forward endgame style. Miles then appears and brings in giant robot spider variants. Then the Earth 616 Peter Parker, who is never Spider-Man, arrives with a web shooter he built, containing a strand of the Great Web, and removes Shathra to a different plane of existence, ending her corruption. Then the first spider totem named Neith, who created the Great Web, appears, and gives them the device that can bring back spiders. Anya uses it to bring back Spider-Woman, and makes Peter Spider-Man once again. They also restore Kane Parker and Spider-Boy, who no one remembers. They prepare to return to their worlds, and Silk gets Peter's blessing as the chosen one of the Spider-Verse, as he swings off to protect his neighborhood. So after end of the Spider-Verse, Peter would enhance his spider sense with the remains of the Spider-Man who is literally made out of spiders. In this story, Peter is back to helping his neighborhood, trusting his spider sense as he saves people from a burning building. However, he realizes he missed a person. At home, he has nightmares of not doing enough, and goes to work where he explains the remains of Spider-Man to Norman. He says these spiders can sense when others are in danger, and wants to do the same. Norman is hesitant to help with this, but Peter eventually persuades him to use his past goblin knowledge for good. Meanwhile, Spider-Boy is trying to find proof that he ever existed in Earth 616, and senses that Peter is about to do something stupid. Back at the lab, Peter explains the very strange details about the spider colony, and the experiment works, as Peter immediately is able to sense when others are in danger. Then we see Electro overloading the city's power, which shocks Peter. Spider-Boy somehow feels what's happened, and Peter can now painfully sense everyone in the city is in danger. So after Spider-Man made his spider sense more powerful, he would be able to detect when anyone in New York is in danger. In this story, Peter goes through the city saving countless people before they even knew something was wrong. Meanwhile, Bailey, aka Spider-Boy, is trying to get to Peter, shocked that he went through with the experiment, when he sees Norman Osborn take Peter, and rushes after them. At the same time, Electro realizes there's only so much he can steal himself. Peter wakes up at Oscorp, where Norman says he temporarily disabled Pete's spider sense to preserve his sanity for a bit. Peter rushes to dinner at Aunt May's, and Norman follows with the Spider-Man 1 reference. Peter's spider sense reactivates as he saves Aunt May from falling, and leaves to save more people. Norman suits up as the Gold Goblin, and meets Spider-Boy, who claims he's been Spider-Man's sidekick for a while. Spidey continues his crusade when he comes across a heist, but realizes his spider sense kicks in when he's about to hurt the goons. He's still able to take them down when he's ambushed by Electro. So Spider-Man once met Spider-Boy, who keeps claiming that he's always been Peter's sidekick. In this story, Peter has overloaded his spider sense and is losing to Electro. He saves civilians from Electro's blasts as his head is ringing from all the voices. Max is about to finish him when Spider-Boy tags in to defend his partner. He explains Peter has done this before. He wraps Electro's mask around his face and tells Peter to go save people while he distracts Sparkles. Peter uses his Avenger credentials to ask first responders to save everyone he can't get to in time, while Bailey is losing to Electro, who's charging up. Peter and a fireman then spray Max, but senses it's actually killing him and tackles him to safety. Electro doesn't care and is about to kill Spider-Man when Spider-Boy leaps on his back and bites his neck, reassuring Peter it's just paralyzing venom. Norman shows up and fixes Peter's spider sense problem, and they explain to him his brain almost fried just from dealing with Electro. He swings off to find Spider-Boy and makes it clear to him that he isn't and never will be his sidekick. So after Spider-Man met Spider-Boy, he learned the 10-year-old was trained by Daredevil. In this story, Peter isn't having it, saying whatever his story is, Spider-Boy ends now. But Bailey says he can't stop being Spider-Boy even if he tried, explaining he was genetically spliced with a spider, and details the powers that he has. He tells Peter about the night he rescued him, and brought him to Daredevil to help with his heightened senses. Eventually, Bailey was able to control his powers, and proved he can fight alongside other heroes. Peter questions how Bailey can even stick to walls with sneakers. Bailey explains Reed Richards made him his suit, which adapts to his abilities. He then details the adventures they've had, but Peter still isn't convinced. Spider-Boy then escapes the webbing and shows Peter the web dissolver that he built for him. His last shot is to tell Peter about when he failed to stop a villain, but saved Aunt May. This showed Peter that Bailey knew what superheroing was about. Bailey senses danger and asks Peter for help, who reluctantly agrees. So Spider-Man and Spider-Boy go off to save more people.